For joining me, Mark. It's great to see you this morning. In regard to Israel, morning, a horrific situation playing out on the streets of Israel today. I wondered what your reaction was to those celebrating this terror attack by Hamas on the streets of London. Should they be investigated by the police for hate crimes?
Well, look, the events of yesterday were barbaric, with Israel coming under attack from a terrorist organisation, Hamas, and the British government stands unequivocally with Israel, its right to defend itself and what it needs to do to deal with the Hamas threat. Hamas is, of course, a proscribed terrorist organisation in the United Kingdom, so anybody expressing support for it is committing an offence, and I would hope that the Metropolitan Police will investigate carefully any reports of anybody doing so, and will take all the necessary steps afterwards.
Thank you. Let's move on to domestic matters now. The Conservatives didn't have a great night in Rutherglen and Hamilton West. There was an 11% swing against the Tories there, 20% swing towards Labour. I mean, have the Conservatives given up on Scotland, Mr. Harper?
No, we absolutely haven't. I mean, clearly that contest was one where I think people thought that it was between Labour and the SNP, but no, we absolutely haven't. We're campaigning very hard. Our leader in Scotland, Douglas Ross, is the leader of the opposition in the Scottish Parliament, and we will continue campaigning strongly on important issues in Scotland, like, for example, the fact the government's renewed oil and gas licences. We're going to need to get that oil and gas out of the ground as we transition to a net zero future, and it's important that we do that, and that's been opposed by both Labour and the SNP. So we're fighting for the people of Scotland and growing the Scottish economy.
Naturally, I'll be asking you about HS2, Mr. Harper. On the 30th of June this year, you tweeted, and I quote, "In Japan, I saw the benefits high-speed rail can bring to connect communities and grow the economy. That's why, despite the global inflationary pressures, we remain fully committed to building HS2. Building it shows we believe in Britain. So does cancelling it show that you no longer believe in Britain?"
Not at all. It shows that when the facts change, you have to change your mind. So look, first of all, we've recommitted to building the first phase from London Euston to Birmingham, and we're continuing to deliver that, and that's having a big transformative effect, particularly on the economy in Birmingham. But look, we've looked at the cost pressures, the increasing cost pressures that are facing constructing this project, and the conclusion we came to was that those increased costs against the reducing benefits, partly because of the way business and commuter traffic has changed after the pandemic, means that it's a better use of taxpayers' money to take that £36 billion of savings and reinvest it in transport projects across the North, the Midlands and the rest of the country to deliver for the people of Britain. So I think the facts have changed.
All right, let's talk about
increasing cost pressures. That's why we made the decision we have.
Some might question whether the facts have changed since June, and also, let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months. But let's look at that £36 billion to be spent on new transport projects in the north. Labour say 85% of them are old.
No, that's simply not true. I mean, let me give you an example. Last Thursday I was up in Bradford. We're now able to commit to building a new station, new lines to Bradford, improving their connections to Manchester and elsewhere. That was welcomed by the Labour Mayor, the Labour leader of the council, the Labour Mayor of West Yorkshire. They think that will help grow their economy and work very well with the ambitious regeneration plans they've got for the city. So I think that was a clear commitment, not able to be funded until we made the decision we did last week, but now able to be funded.
Why is the Metrolink tram to Manchester Airport in there as a new project when it was built in 2014?
Well, because it currently goes to only one terminal of Manchester Airport. What we were talking about was extending it to the further terminal, so that's a new investment for a new piece of connection to the airport. I agree it could have been better worded, but it's very clear we're now going to extend that connection to the second terminal.
Could this whole document, I'm holding it up now, Mr. Harper, Network North, Transforming British Transport. Did you proofread this document as Transport Secretary?
Look, I'm very proud of that document. It's £36 billion of extra transport investment across, as I said, the North, the Midlands and the rest of the country. I think there were significant projects in there that were not able to be funded previously. We can now deliver them over the years to come, and people will start seeing the benefits in a few weeks' time as we keep the bus fare capped at £2, not going up to £2.50, and money from next spring to local authorities to invest in local roads. And I think those are important priorities for people across the country.
But did you proofread this document? Because it's relocated Manchester and Preston. It suggests that Southampton and Portsmouth are in the north, that Littlehampton is in the north. I mean, if I turned in a piece of copy like this to the Telegraph, I think my editor would have a lot of problems with it. It's riddled with errors, isn't it?
No, it isn't. Look, there was one mistake between that we had the Bognor Regis and Littlehampton one, which is a mistake. I agree that was a mistake, but look, it's a significant document, a significant amount of spending across the North, the Midlands, and the rest of the country. I think it will be widely welcomed in those parts of the country where people can see more transport investment. I accept not everyone will agree with the decision we took, but it was the right decision for the long-term interests of the country.
On the decision about the Manchester leg of HS2, are you going to apologise to the people that had to sell their homes? One man, I think it cost him his business, for nothing.
Look, I accept that for those people where their properties were purchased for the leg of HS2, it's not going to happen. Look, I don't expect them to be particularly happy with the decision we've taken, but it is the right decision for the country. There's a clear process now that will follow, legal process, to deal with all of those property claims. But look, I accept that for those people that have had a personal situation which has been difficult, they're not going to be particularly happy, but government has to make the right decision for the country, and that's what the Prime Minister did last week.
Are you going to be voting in favour of this smoking ban? I appreciate it's the ban of sales to children who are now 14, that includes my eldest child, but will you be voting in favour of that? Because I know you're a libertarian, Mr Harper. I remember you being a very vocal force in the COVID research group. You don't like to tell your constituents what to do, so why are you making the exception on smoking?
So, well, look, first of all, it's a free vote, but I am going to be voting for it for this reason, and I'm very much, I think, in the same place as the Prime Minister. I'm not in favour of telling people what they can eat and what they can drink, because it's for people to judge the levels that they want to do themselves. The difference with smoking is there's no safe level of smoking. I don't think anybody wants their children to take up smoking, so I actually think this is a sensible plan to get to a point in the future where nobody smokes. I wouldn't support doing it for other things where there are safe levels, but I think for smoking there's no safe level of it. I think this is a good plan. Prevent children taking up smoking. We know that most people that take up smoking do so as children, and then they find it really hard to kick the habit. So I back the Prime Minister on this plan, and I will be voting for it.
But isn't obesity now a bigger killer than smoking?
Look, obesity is a big challenge for the NHS, and there is work to do on giving people the information they need to make choices about a healthy diet. But the difference is, it's for people to make judgments about how much of different sorts of food they consume. The difference with smoking is there's no safe level of smoking, and there's really no one that I've ever met that would like their children to take up smoking. So this plan is about making sure we stop children taking up smoking in the first place. It's good for public health, and I think it's the right thing to do, and I will be supporting it.
You were once Immigration Minister, I remember, under David Cameron. Would you use the same language as your colleague Suella Braverman when it comes to migrants, describing hurricanes, floods, torrents? Is she using the right rhetoric here?
Well, look, I think the point the Home Secretary is trying to emphasise is that there are a huge number of people around the world who would qualify under the refugee conventions, and we have to have limits on the number of people that can come here. That's why we are putting in place our plans that are opposed every step of the way by the Labour Party to tighten up on the rules. It's why we've had some success already with a 20% reduction in the number of people coming on those channel crossings, but we've got to break the back of the business model of those smugglers. Well, look, we all choose our own language. I choose my own. But look, the point she was making was that there's a significant number of people that could come to this country. We have to have controls and set the rules for ourselves. It has to be the British people that set the rules about who can come here. That was the point she was making, and I strongly support that particular point she was making. It's the government's policy, tough border controls, stopping the boats coming, and opposed every step of the way by the Labour Party.
When do you reckon the first flight to Rwanda will take off, Mr. Harper?
Well, look, as you know, that policy has been challenged in the courts. There's a court hearing tomorrow. I very much hope we'll be successful. It's worth just reflecting on the fact just today, the Labour leader was asked whether he would support the Rwanda plan, even if it was shown to be working, and he said he wouldn't. Now that doesn't make sense. We've got a clear plan to break the business model of these organised criminal gangs who traffic people across the channel and cause many of them to lose their lives. That's not the right thing to do. We're going to robustly implement our plan, and I look forward to seeing the first flights take off soon.
Thank you very much indeed for joining me this morning. Mark Harper, Transport Secretary. Lovely to speak to you.